I want to quickly talk to you about inventory auditing. And if you have a brick and mortar or warehouse, or let's say you want to have more visibility into your supply chain, it's important to have a great inventory audit guide or model so that you can really know whether or not you are making profit, you are actually optimizing your stock. Okay. So here are the tactics I want you to really pay attention to. When you think about inventory audit, I want you to really understand that this is a process. This is actually a method that you need to really put in place. Let me define it for you. What is an inventory audit? So, an inventory audit is the process of cross checking your actual inventory levels against financial records. It makes sure that the physical inventory matches what's in the inventory system. So, audits may also look at how a retail business is counting inventory, identifying ways to become more accurate. And audits can be performed by store owners or external auditors. So if you are a store owner, if you are a warehouse owner, you can really do the audit yourself, or you can just outsource the task to a third party. And auditing your inventory reveals your true inventory levels, the stock you have on hand at your store or in your warehouse, and actually gives you a snapshot of the health of your supply chain overall. So when you run regular inventory audits, you might actually spot specific SKU numbers with more frequent issues than others, and actually catch discrepancies before they can become a bigger problem. It's all about being proactive, right? It's all about being like having a system in place where you can catch things beforehand. So when you think about inventory audits, why are they important really? So the biggest benefit of regular audits is actually peace of mind. Think about it. And you can't really put a price tag on peace of mind. Okay. Your business decisions should be driven by data analysis, and every inventory audit adds real-time data for you to analyze. Okay. So data from physical inventory counts can inform demand forecasting and product planning, for instance. And that's really important. You have a scheduling for marketing campaigns and staffing, safety stock needed to prevent stockouts, the ideal reorder points based on product demand, and store layout and product display. Okay, and the good thing is that inventory audits actually identify shrinkage, and also they are required for public companies. So if you are part of a public company, you will really will need that, because you will need it to have an auditor like a CPA, for instance, come and audit your inventory. Okay. And so inventory shrinkage is important too, because shrinkage is when a store has fewer inventory items than are listed in its records. Causes of inventory shrinkage include shoplifting, employee theft, administrative errors, vendor fraud, and product damage. So let me give you a few procedures to really have in mind this year if you are thinking about inventory auditing. I want to give you 11 inventory audit procedures you really need to really familiarize yourself with this year. First, you have ABC analysis. So basically, the thing is, when it's time to do an inventory audit, you can combine different counting procedures to fit your company's needs, industry, and audit frequency. It's all about actually having the right fit for you, the right method for you. So when in terms of audit procedures, you have ABC analysis, cutoff analysis, physical inventory count, cycle count, analytical procedures, overhead analysis, freight cost analysis, finished goods cost analysis, product reconciliation, match invoices to shipping log, and inventory layers. Let me really go a little more in detail so you have a clear idea. So let me first start with ABC analysis. So ABC analysis is pretty interesting because it provides a lot of clarity into your inventory right from the start. So ABC analysis is an inventory categorization method that groups items based on value. So value is going to be the preponderant sort of criterion here. So A will correspond to 20% of stock that represents 80% of your revenue. B will be a 30% of stock that represents 15% of your revenue. And C, in other words, 50% of stock that represent 5% of your revenue. So you can see that there is a layer, okay? So A actually accounts for 80% of your revenue. So products rated A are high value items for your store, while C marks low value items So by knowing which products belong to which category, you can prioritize inventory auditing and organize your backroom or warehouse to facilitate those procedures, those checks. So that's really important from an accountability point of view, also, because you can really see what kind of staff you can assign to those A, B, or C items. You also have cutoff analysis. So cutoff analysis involves pausing warehouse operations like shipping and receiving while you conduct a physical inventory count. This way, you can ensure all financial reporting is up to date and no transactions or inventory changes slip through the cracks. And then you have physical inventory count. So a physical inventory count involves manually counting the stock in your store from the sales floor to the back room and comparing the physical inventory levels to those recorded in your point of sale system or inventory management system. This also takes into account stock levels for different product variants like colors and sizes. So a full physical count can disrupt day-to-day operations because it counts every item in the store. Still, it's actually the most common inventory audit procedure, believe it or not. Next, you have the cycle count. So cycle count actually is the process of counting a small group of products at a specific time. This can be maybe the last Friday of the month, the first Wednesday of the month, or the second Thursday of the month. Okay, and a cycle count is done regularly on a predefined number of products and makes it easier to keep an accurate inventory of valuable products without disrupting business. So that's kind of cool because it really instills an extra layer of clarity and transparency into your operations. So that's really good. Maybe a cycle count will be better for you based on your operation, or your operations, your stores activities, the kind of traffic, the kind of foot traffic you have in your store, for instance. Then you also have analytical procedures. I'm still going through the inventory audit procedures that you may actually try. So you have the analytical procedures. So those procedures involve financial and operational metrics like inventory turnover ratio. So the turnover ratio, you can calculate gross margins, unit cost of inventory from the previous years, and inventory days on hand. So the DOH, okay? But this means that you gotta have a clear idea of what you're doing, right? You gotta really be familiar with the procedure, and you also you gotta have the skill set, the knowledge, the skill set in terms of knowing what accounting metrics to use. When it comes to inventory auditing, you can also try overhead analysis. That's pretty interesting in terms of simplicity, but also in terms of comprehensiveness. So, overhead analysis takes into account the indirect cost of running your retail business. And so, when I speak about indirect costs here, of course I'm contrasting direct costs, right? Indirect versus direct costs. So here you are looking at indirect costs such as rent, utilities, insurance, and other costs, not including salaries and direct materials. Now, direct materials, this is actually direct cost, okay? And salaries could be either direct cost or indirect cost. It depends on how you set up your operation. So knowing your overhead cost helps you actually budget and plan for your store accordingly. And there is actually an entire science behind indirect cost when it comes to cost accounting or management accounting. So, but it will be too long for me to really go in details here. But yeah, indirect costs can be really quintessential for your operation, especially from a scalability point of view. When it comes to inventory auditing, you can also try freight cost analysis, and this can be really powerful. Let me explain real fast. So freight cost analysis looks at several things, okay, but particularly it looks at freight shipping cost, the time it takes for a product to be shipped, and instances of products that are lost or damaged in transport. So what happens here is that when it comes to cost analysis, you are analyzing your supply chain. You are going granular. You are going in depth into your supply chain and see what kind of logistical problems you are having like on a recurrent basis to really identify maybe trends, identify patterns, for instance, okay? So freight cost analysis. So basically, when you think about items damaged in transport, this is how you can keep track of your shipping cost and the inventory lead time. Shipping costs are typically part of the value of inventory, so knowing them is quite essential. You also have a finished goods cost analysis. So, finished goods cost analysis is relevant for retailers who manufacture their products. So, if you are a retailer in that category, if you manufacture your products, so it's important for you to have a clear idea. Usually, when it comes to inventory, you have three types of inventory, right? You have raw materials, you have work in process, and then you have finished goods. So if you really are a retailer who manufacture your products, that means all the three items, all the three categories are part of your inventory. In other words, your balance sheet. Okay. So when it comes strictly to finished goods, you have to really understand that when a product is ready to be sold, its value can be included in inventory for the current financial period to ensure that accounting records are accurate across the board. So as you reconcile your records, keep track of products that are more likely to divert from the inventory levels in your system. And this is going to help you actually have a certain method. That way, you can monitor, let's say, those products to avoid future issues, especially if you have a variety of products that are actually spread across multiple geographies, multiple warehouses, multiple retail stores, multiple places, if you will. So you can also match invoices to a shipping log. This is going to be very powerful, especially if you are going to get things done from a scalability point of view. So basically, matching invoices to shipping logs is about matching the cost and amount of inventory you received with financial records from your invoices. And this can be done at random to spot check inventory for a specific time period. And this procedure confirms that the correct amount was charged at the right time and for the correct inventory. So you are basically tracing products across the supply chain. You are basically tracing products from A to Z, so you have a clear idea how product A, for instance, will fit into your balance sheet, okay, where it will be located, okay. And you also have inventory layers. So inventory layers are the quantities of items received or grouped together that share the same cost. So if you are using FIFO or a LIFO, inventory management principles, is actually worth looking at the inventory layers you received and making sure they are correct. By the way, when I speak about FIFO, I'm speaking about first in, first out. And when I speak about LIFO, I'm speaking about last in, first out. So we are speaking about inventory management principles here. So that's really the 11 top inventory items to really be aware of this year. Okay. Now, so let me give you an inventory audit checklist before we actually move on here. So you want to create an inventory audit schedule. You want to prepare your documents and data. You want to assess and prepare your inventory. You want to select audit procedures. Those are going to be very helpful. You want to choose who's auditing. Okay. You want to conduct a physical count. Reconcile records that don't match the physical count. Record inventory audit results. Compare findings with previous audits. Identify potential causes of shrinkage, and also look for opportunities to improve inventory methods. That's really going to help you, especially in the long run, if you are going to have a clear idea of what works and what doesn't. Okay. So when you are gearing up to conduct an audit, use this checklist that I just gave you to prepare the materials you will need, execute the audit, and analyze the results. So those are the inventory audit checklist. I'm going to put it on the screen once again. So here you have 11 items to really account for. Let me give you a few top hacks here. So when it comes to inventory auditing, you have the planning stage, you have you have the execution stage, and you have the analysis stage. Let me break it down for you. So when you think about the planning stage, you want to create an inventory audit schedule. Okay. What is the frequency that makes sense for your store size, or for your warehouse, or for your operations in general? Which periods are slow enough to minimize disruption to your operations? Because the last thing you want is to actually do an audit an inventory audit during the year-end holidays, for instance. Okay, so you want to create an inventory audit schedule. You want to prepare your documents and data. So this includes what? It includes balance sheets, invoices, and data from your inventory management software. So especially if you have a cloud-based system, that's even faster. Okay, so this is really good. And so you want to assess and prepare your inventory. So you ensure all inventory is unpacked, pallets are accessible, and no items are at risk of being left out or counted twice. So that's for the planning stage. Then you have the execution stage. You want to select audit procedures. So does your store need a full physical inventory count? Can you maybe focus on high value items from your ABC analysis or implement a cycle count? Do you want to include all other any other parameters like freight or overhead analysis? You also want to choose who's auditing. Are you conducting the audit internally or through an external service? Will there be an auditor present to observe and spot check your process? And you want to conduct the physical count, so no inventory will be moved in and out of your store or warehouse during this stage. Take note of your counts using a point of sale app with inventory capabilities like, you can use, there are a lot of them, Clover or Shopify POS, or you can use a tool like Excel. And you want to reconcile your records that do not match the physical count. So this helps you start your next period fresh and keep track of items that tend to mismatch. And then you have also the analysis stage. You want to record inventory audit results. You want to compare findings with previous audits. You want to identify actually potential causes of shrinkage, and you want to look for opportunities to improve inventory methods. So when I speak about shrinkage, you want to look at what might be causing shrinkage so you can minimize losses. For instance, product damage and vendor fraud might come from supply chain issues, and dead stock could mean overestimated product demand. So this is something to really think about. Let me give you a few extras here. So the thing is, when it comes to inventory auditing, you have to really understand that audits are time consuming. That's really not nothing you can do about them. But yeah, they are time consuming. So counting every item in your store and stock room takes time and focused efforts. So depending on your resources, you may even need to shut down operations, including closing your store and pausing inventory shipments. So minimize the burden of audits by scheduling them for natural downtime and using systems that simplify the process. Okay, so helpful auditing tools include point of sale systems, barcodes, and radio frequency identification technology. So RFID technology. And one thing you have to really understand is that you cannot really scale auditing as you grow, because it's one of those things where you got to have a method right off the bat that you can really scale. Okay, inventory audits become a bigger burden as your store grows and let's say your stock expands from a spare room into a warehouse. So bigger physical spaces and locations to navigate, plus more SKUs to handle, mean that you may no longer be able to perform a manual audits. So when that happens, you want to switch to lighter, more frequent counting procedures like cycle counts and ABC analysis, or even better, you can actually integrate an inventory control system like perpetual inventory. Okay. So if you want to audit your inventory with confidence, it's important to understand that with the right tool, you can really get things done faster. Okay. Inventory audits don't need to be a draining, overwhelming experience when you think about it. So there is a useful tool to prevent shrinkage and stockouts and leave you confident about your store's capabilities. Okay. So just have the right POS system to kind of help you know exactly where to really focus your efforts. Okay. And the bottom line here is that if you got to have a method in place, and you also got to have a certain company culture, or like let's say employee morale, to make sure that you are actually you have the right staff to sort of support you in your quest when it comes to accurate inventory counts, and that's really important right off the bat. So here's the epilogue into this conversation. I spoke to you about inventory audit, and this was an in-depth guide. And basically, I gave you the tactics, the procedures, the top hacks, the extras, and now the epilogue. Thank you so much. God bless you. I will speak to you later on. By the way, when I spoke about top hacks, you got to really understand you have the planning stage, the execution stage, and the analysis stage, okay? This trifecta is quite essential. Thank you so much. God bless you. I will speak to you another time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.